First of all, I saw you last night at the Scholastic Bowl
Yes.
in Andover at Pine-Tubing Valley. And that's always a nice annual thing there where kids get to show how smart they are.
Yeah, it's amazing. It was a nice event, very well attended, and I know PV had another event taking place too.
Yeah, I couldn't find a place to park. I've never seen as many people at a Scholastic Bowl.
But
somebody was pulling out so I could get in.
Yeah, very proud of our kids. You know, it's amazing seeing them answer some of the questions they did. I sit there, and I was sitting beside Pat Colucci, Superintendent for Ashtabula City, and we were talking some of the questions I couldn't even answer myself, and our kids at the high school were rattling them off. So I was very, very impressed, very proud of them. So it was a great event, very well attended.
Yes, it was.
Yep.
By the way, a little trivia: Conneaut has won once, and the team captain just happened to have my last name.
Was it you?
It was not me, it was my son. He was a team captain. There was a question that they asked, it was like neck and neck, and the question was asked, and the other two people said, give an answer. And so Derek pushes the button and gives a completely different answer, but he was right.
Hey,
so that's one time he did something right. And the show's not streaming on radio, so he'll never hear about that. Okay. Now, I know also, because we're doing some babysitting tonight, my daughter-in-law is a teacher at Gateway, that there are parent-teacher conferences tonight.
Correct.
So tell me about how important parent-teacher conferences are.
You know, being a parent myself, they're extremely important, you know, and being a former classroom teacher, it's a wonderful opportunity for the teachers to sit down and not only go over the academic progress of their child, but any other things that they see, good things or bad things.
Behavior.
Yeah, all those things. And just a great way to open up a line of communication and be able to identify parents with their child. And you know, like I said, being a parent myself, I appreciate it. Being a former teacher, I appreciated the opportunity. You know, and we always encourage parents. As children get older, sometimes the parent participation declines,
right,
you know, as they get to the middle school and high school. So we always encourage parents, just because your child is doing well, it's still nice to go and show your support, not only for us, but for their child in particular. So we did have them last week from 4 to 7:30. We have them tonight from 4 to 7:30. Had a great turnout last week, very good turnout at all 4 buildings. So we're hoping for another good turnout tonight. The weather is good, so
right,
other than being cold, so we're hoping for another good turnout this evening.
My wife always said, because she's a retired teacher in Conneaut, that the second round of conferences they always dropped off too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, always dropped off. You know, and you know, we'll try to think of some creative ways to try to get, you know, more parents involved. And obviously, sometimes weather plays a factor, and we know, you know, society's changed. Families are much more busier nowadays.
Right.
There's a lot of parents with 2 parents working in the household, and if one's working in the evening, the other one has to stay home with younger children. So we'll look at some, you know, things that we can do as we move ahead, and to see if we can increase attendance. And we'll take a look at what our attendance was in the fall compared to our current parent-teacher conferences, and see how we can build upon that.
One thing my wife always mentioned was there would be some kids that would be a bit of prevaricators about the teacher. You know, the teacher had 3 heads and picked me up and threw me out the window. And so then the parent goes there, and parent believes it all and goes in, and this kid sits there and, now, do I have 3 heads? And did I throw you out? No. And did this happen? No. And did that happen? No. And then,
well, I think what's interesting is, you know, like I said, being a former teacher and sitting there and having conferences myself, I would sit down with parents and talk about how well behaved their child is and how well they listen. And sometimes the parents would sit there and say, are you talking about my child? Maybe. So it's interesting to see how kids, in general, how they compare to what they do at home compared to how they what they do or perform in school. And sometimes it's identical, sometimes it's not. So it's interesting having those conversations with the parents about that.
So what did you teach?
I taught a number of grade levels. You know, going into education, my goal was to be an elementary principal. So when I first started, I taught 5th and 6th grade for 5th grade for 2 years, 6th grade for a year. And then I wanted a lower primary grade, so I taught 1st grade for a year, and then I taught 3rd grade for 3 years. And then after my 3rd year in 3rd grade, that's when I took my first elementary principal's position. So taught for 7 years and have been in administration for about 15 years now.
So in first grade, you're there like cutting out the little things and.
Yeah.
I'm terrible at that. I still can't cut.
Well, you know, it's interesting. People always ask, what was your favorite grade level to teach? And there's really not a favorite grade level because you find joy and no matter what, you know, you adapt to the kids. I remember taking my first high school principal's position, and I was nervous because I was always around little kids most of the majority of my career. And then having that bell ring the first day in the high school setting, I'm thinking, what am I doing around these big kids? A lot of them are bigger than I am. But I fell in love with them. I mean, that's education. You know, you adapt, you make changes, and I love the high school just as much as I love teaching first graders. So. Yeah.
You do get around, don't you? Like you're out at the different schools, kind of make that a goal.
Yeah, it's a goal of mine. Obviously, I try to get into the buildings as much as possible with this online testing coming from the state in the next couple of weeks. I've spent the majority of the past couple of weeks in the office getting those set up. So, and my secretary knows it gets frustrating. There was a day last week where I had to get out of the office. I spent almost 2 days in there doing odds and ends, and I needed to get out to the buildings and see the kids. I made it a point coming back from Christmas break as far as doing classroom walkthroughs. So I try to get into at least 10 to 15 classrooms during the week and see what's happening.
So you just kind of sit there in the back and watch for a while?
Yeah, go in the classroom for 5 or 10 minutes, sometimes longer depending on what the activity is, and trying to go into buildings during different times, during cafeteria, while the kids are eating lunches, to interact with some of the students. So
now, is this why moving the administration offices to, what is it, the middle school?
Middle school, yeah. A lot of it is we have space at the middle school. It's a beautiful facility. Southeast was a wonderful building years ago. Obviously, it's gotten older over the past year, so it'll be a great environment for our workers that are currently in the Southeast building to be in a school building. We're not going to be separated from the students. We'll be on the 6th grade wing, have a separate entrance, but to me it's nice because I'm in a building with kids, and I like when the bell rings and I hear kids interact in the hallway. So it's a great opportunity for me too, plus being that close to both, not only the middle school but Gateway as well. But the rooms are available, so it makes sense to move there. So the only department that will be housed at our Southeast building will be our maintenance department. That's it. So we'll use that for some extra storage, and our maintenance will continue to stay there.
So there's no future plans for that building like that?
No, right now it's hard because we don't have a building or a structure for our maintenance department to house all their extra equipment and tools and trucks and some of the plows for the snow and things like that. So we do keep a majority of it housed at that building. We do keep some of it housed at the GE building, which we're in the process of moving the items at the GE building over to the Southeast building, so that will be a maintenance storage building. So until we have an area or a building for our maintenance department to go, that building is suitable enough for that department. It meets their needs, so we'll continue to use that and fix the building up, and as long as they continue to stay there.
What about the bus garage?
Bus garage is the same. Obviously, we're going to take a look into it. I met with our maintenance supervisor the other day. We have to take a look at any upgrades that we need to do there. We know we need to address the parking lot there. That's an issue. But as far as the size of it, it meets our needs. What we need as far as repairing our buses. It has adequate storage for our buses. So right now, it's still a good facility. It just needs a little upkeep, and we'll put a plan together to gradually start making some improvements to that as well.
Kind of out in the middle of nowhere now, though. But
yeah, it is. Ideally it'd be nice to have everything on one site. The Southeast building would be nice, but again, it's a cost factor.
Right,
being able to move everything. It's extremely expensive to do so. So we're at a point where we're set where we are. We just need to kind of maintain things and make improvements as we go along.
One thing I always was kind of disappointed in, and this was 20 years, 15 years before your time, is that Conneaut was the first district to do the upgrades to the new buildings and stuff, and they decided not to do a performing arts center or an auditorium or something. So you go to Pymatuning Valley and you see the beautiful facility they have there at Lakeside. At Grand Valley's is okay, it's not quite as good, but Lakeside and Pontoon Valley, and Jefferson is really nice.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know, just something that'd be nice for them.
Yeah, and it's, it's tough. It's been about 10 years since Conneaut went through the Ohio School Facilities Project. Obviously, in those 10 years, some school districts have learned some tricks along the way.
Right.
And, I've been involved in a couple school districts that went through the Ohio School Facilities within the past, 2 to 5 years. And so just seeing the construction of those buildings compared to what we have, things have changed dramatically in the 10 years. But I think at that time, decisions have to be made based upon money that's allocated by the state and the local dollars. So, I'm sure there was many hours and discussions taking place when that happened. And, we're very fortunate. We do have some beautiful buildings, and again, for our students academically, our maintenance department does a phenomenal job keeping the upkeep of those buildings and keeping them in great shape.
So tell me so far, how are things going just in general? Because, we know that you came from a bigger district, took a pay cut, and so does every night you go home and pound your head against the wall saying, why did I do this? Or is it cool or what?
No, not at all. It was a wonderful move for me. It really was, both personally and professionally. I love it here. I love our students. I love our teachers. It's a great community. Getting out to the buildings and just interacting with our students. The students have accepted me very, very well at all levels, kindergarten, preschool, through our seniors. Just being around the student body and interacting with them, being able to work with our teachers, being able to work with our administrators. It is on a smaller scale, which I truly love, because I can sit at one table with all our principals, and we can really dig into things as far as academically. And so I look back, and it was the best move that I've made in my career.
Well, you're not as layered, right? I mean, there used to be other people between you and the teachers and all that took care of things.
Yeah, larger districts, sometimes it's managing things and not really being involved with students and teachers, and things, some results, academic results, and some other results being done, and you have some control in it, but you're so layered that it's hard to. Where, in Conneaut, it's nice because the superintendent, I'm the test coordinator, I'm the curriculum director. So, but to me that's good because it gets me involved in what we're doing. So when things are taking place in the classroom, I actually know what's happening in the classroom, which is great. Not only because of what I see, but trying to be involved with our teachers and with our students. So I truly love it. And again, it's just a matter of, I know I tried in the fall of selling my home and moving up here, and didn't have I do have a place up here for right now, but again, in the springtime I'll put my house that's in Youngstown back on the market and hopefully try to sell it and be up here permanently. So
is the housing market better in Youngstown than it used to be?
No,
Apparently not.
Yeah, it's not. It's hit and miss, and even in the community that the house is in, it's in a great school district that my kids go to, but it's still difficult. Real estate is very, very difficult now. So, but we'll see. But I do have a place up here that I stay during the week, and it's been a blessing to be able to be up here. And but I'm just looking forward to making that final move up here and being up here permanently. So.
You integrated into the community. I saw you at the chamber. Was that last week?
Yeah, last week,
like
last Tuesday.
Yeah.
So I try to get involved. I'm on the board with the chamber. I'm in discussion with Kathy Pape as far as looking at getting involved with the public library and being on the board for the public library. And try to go to Rotary when I can. I know it's on Tuesdays. It's sometimes difficult because of just things taking place in the school district and the needs and so forth. But I'm involved in Rotary. And so trying to get involved. I am a board member on the Conneaut Foundation. I'm the chairperson for the grant committee, and we have a meeting this week. So it's helped out a lot getting to know people and put names with faces. And so looking back when I first started, and I went to the Conneaut Foundation breakfast in the fall before I knew anyone here, and now seeing the people that I've met along the way, now I can go to the Conneaut Foundation breakfast next year and know everyone that's there. So it's a great way just to get to know people in the community and see what's actually happening in the community. So,
you had your picture up on that video that they had at the thing. one of the heroes.
Yeah, I was surprised when I saw my picture go across there, but no, it's like I said, it's been a great start to the school year. I couldn't be more pleased with the work of our teachers and our principals, and most importantly, our students. So they do a great job. You know, some things, like I said, moving ahead, we're looking at some things for next year. One of the things, I do have a meeting with Lori DeVito this week. I know there was some discussion, it was in the paper, in regards to Head Start coming into our Lakeshore building next school year, which
Is it that soon?
Yeah, they'll start, as soon as school lets out in the spring, summer, we'll go ahead and start cleaning the classrooms and getting them ready for Head Start to make the transition. So we're excited. It's a wonderful opportunity for those students to be in our K2, our Lakeshore building, you know, a year before they're supposed to be, and get to know the teachers and the principal and so forth. So it'll be a great move for not only Head Start but our school district too, and getting those students in a year earlier.
It really makes sense.
It does. It allows an opportunity for those Head Start preschool teachers to interact with our preschool teachers, our kindergarten teachers, and try to close that gap for those preschool students coming into kindergarten. And you know, having some of the resources that we have available in our school building will help out too. So it's all about what's best for kids, and we felt that was the best move for those students.
So by the time they get to kindergarten, they're going to be old pros at it.
They'll be familiar with the school and how to come in the morning, and believe it or not, that takes a lot of time at the start of the school year, getting them acclimated with the school building and the personnel and things. So we're hoping that'll be a smoother transition for those students and not as scary. So when they come in kindergarten, it's not a difficult break from them for their parents, because they did it a year before. So,
right.
Yep. So
there was an article in the News Herald recently about Governor Kasich's budget for education, and it showed that something like 2/3 of the school districts in Lake County would get less money under his budget. And we know that this is his proposed budget, and it's semi-meaningless.
Yeah.
But have you looked at the budget and what it has in store for Conneaut?
yeah, obviously, you know, I did take a look at it the other day. Again, it is a proposed budget, so you don't spend hours upon hours because you don't know what's going to go through. It will financially impact Conneaut based upon what I've read so far on the surface.
Impact plus or minus?
In a minus, yeah. You know, they are going to increase, you know, the funding per pupil about $100 per year for the next 2 years, but then under the guarantee, you know, we fall under the guarantee where we're guaranteed a certain amount of money by the state on an annual basis, not based upon our student population, but there's going to be a decrease of 1% in fiscal year 16 and fiscal year 17. So on a $10 million budget, that's about $100,000 a year in the negative. And we're over, you know, we're about a $12-13 million budget. So, you know, looking at the surface, it's going to be a little over $100,000 loss per year for the next 2 years that we will lose financially as a district. So, you know, the treasurer and I started looking at that. Obviously, we'll take a look at our 5-year forecast to see how that's going to have an impact on it. But again, it's a proposed budget, and spoke with somebody at ODE the other day, and you know, they're not digging into it too deep right now, just because they don't know what's going to happen. So, so we'll sit back, we'll see. But again, we have to plan, you know. So we'll plan the next couple years with that reduction, and if we don't get it, then that's good for us.
Yeah.
But we, you know, based upon the proposal, we have to start making plans based upon that.
So do you contact like John Patterson?
Yeah, John Patterson, actually, you know, he comes up. We had a superintendent's conference a couple weeks ago. He came and met with us, and you know, everyone knows he's a tremendous supporter of Ashtabula County.
He's a retired teacher.
Yeah, and so he is, you know, pro-education and understands. He's a great person. He listens to our concerns as not only superintendents but educators. You know, he's fighting for us down in Columbus, and trying to do what's right for, you know, communities, teachers, and our students. So yeah, he's a great person, and he knows he always has our support, and we have his support too as well.
So I wonder why. I don't know. It seems like before the big recession of 2008 or whatever, it was everything is education. The United States is falling behind all these other countries, and what are we going to do? And then the bottom kind of falls off, and let's cut education. We'll increase the prisons, but let's cut education.
Yeah,
why do you have to battle the state? The state should be there helping you.
And you know, It is. It's very difficult and it's frustrating at times because you get so much, and sometimes it gets littler and littler every year. But we need to provide the same services.
Right, and they give you more demands, don't
right.
they?
And what we're seeing is based upon the needs of our students and our parents and our community, the needs are getting greater.
Sure.
But the money is becoming less and less, and so you're trying to do more with less, and then there gets to the point where do you go from that, where people are being stretched so thin? So, but it's a battle that we've fought over the past 6-7 years, and will continue to, and hopefully there will be a change on the horizon, with that. But it's frustrating in education because you care about the kids and the families so much, but there's only, when funding is not there, you wish you can do more, but you can't financially. Just sitting back and thinking of some of the things that I would love to provide for our students and our families, but I just can't right now based upon what we have. We do what we can with what we have, and I think we do a great job in our school district providing some services for our students with the money that we're allocated, not only for social emotional issues, but with academic issues, with interventions and things with programs that we offer for our students. So we are doing a great job with what we have for our students and for our teachers and for our families. So hopefully we'll see as time goes on, there is a change, but like you said, it's been it seems that's where they go to make the cut, but then we have to compete against other nations. And
you see these statistics as to if you put so much money towards education, you don't have to worry about the prisons as much and that sort of thing. And there was a time that people were complaining because the state they were only giving you so much more per year. No, they're not talking about giving you more per year. They're talking about taking away.
Right.
And it's just...
yeah, and it is difficult. We know, and being a taxpayer myself, it's difficult, when you reach out to the community so many times to make up for those lost funds in order to provide the services that we need for our children. So I understand it's difficult. Levies nowadays, even renewals, you cross your fingers and hope they pass.
And now what we were talking today, these reassessments, property evaluation, people are getting big increases in their property taxes without a school levy or fire levy or a road levy.
Right, without generating, and we try to explain that it's not generating any additional funds for the school district. And so,
they said, we don't care, we only have so much money.
Right. So it's...
I mean, they may care, but...
Yeah, and it's tough, and looking at our history and obviously, looking at us financially, we'll probably have to go back to the voters, for some new operating funds within the next year or two. But I think, as a district, they've been very frugal with the money. It'll be probably, I can't quote exactly, but it'll probably be, close to 20 years or so before we've asked for new money outside the bond issue and building the new school building. So, and we're going to continue to do so. We'll take a look at our budget this year, look at some things for next year, what we can, and it's a way of taking what you have, using it a little bit more efficiently to see if you can provide more services with the same amount of money that you have. And a perfect example is our transportation. We're taking a deep look into our transportation right now to see if our bus routes are being ran efficiently. Busing our K through 8 students, we currently don't provide transportation for our high school students, which is very hard for me because, I'm blessed I have a son that has a car and can drive to school, but I'm thinking if he didn't, how difficult it would be. So we're taking a look at our transportation to see if we can do things a little bit differently, still provide the same transportation that we're doing K through 8, but doing it in a more efficient way to free up a couple buses so I can at least start to phase high school busing in.
We were talking about the financial problems of Connie, and I was mentioning off air that there was an ambitious program announced last year for Buckeye, trying to assess kids when they go into high school and find out what they're strong at, and then try to mold the curriculum for them. But then the superintendent that had this plan, he has resigned, and they are having pretty big cuts there that they've already announced. I guess they're going to try to get their house in order before they go to the voters and say, look, we've already, I think 3 or 4 teachers are going to go and everything else.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I know it's it's happening in Conneaut. We've made some reductions in the past, and we're it's a situation where as a superintendent you look at every year, as employees retire, as you see things, then you reevaluate programs and positions and see where the needs are. But and I've explained to our building principals that we're going to design programs that are what's best for our kids, and we're going to supply employees in those positions in order to provide the best academic opportunity for our students, and then we'll look at the finances at that point, because that's what our job is to provide a wonderful learning environment for our students. So that's our main focus, and then we'll look at the finances and how we can go about financing that. But
Let's go to Nolan.
sure.
Hello, you're on the air.
Hi, is this Pat Williams?
No.
No. I have a question maybe you guys can help me with.
Okay.
Do you guys know how I can get a hold of Fred Bennett's family, the man that used to survey?
Okay, we've got a guess right now. I don't know for sure.
Okay, so when should I call back? Or could you have Pat Williams call me?
Why don't you call the show tomorrow? He
Okay,
should be
thanks.
back. Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, we do have the superintendent here, and I have not been keeping a real close look here, so if you do want to call in and talk about education, we would welcome that, 593-7181. So, what were you saying?
We were just talking about, my philosophy, and I've shared it with our building principals, is as we go into next school year, try to look at programs and try to look at schedules and try to do what's best for our students academically.
So it sounds like though what you're doing is what would be best for the students.
Correct.
And then after you kind of come up with that, it's then how do we pay for it?
Right. And we look at along the way. To give an example, some of the changes that going into the next year that we've talked with the teachers is, in our 6 through 12 we have 8 periods. Well, we're going to go to a 7-period schedule in grades 6 through 12 next year, which is going to increase instruction in those classes. So we'll see an increase in instruction there. At our Gateway building, our 3 through 5 students have always switched teachers during the course of the school day. We're going to go self-contained, which means they'll have the same teacher all day, every day. And again, that's going to have an increase in instruction. And little things like that we want to increase instruction, which is good for, which our teachers want. No teacher is going to say they don't want more time with their kids. They actually want more time with our students. So it's a way of trying to look at things and do things a little bit differently to increase the instruction for our students and for our teachers. And then obviously that will have an impact on the schedules and staffing, but we'll take a look at that once those fall into place. But we look at it that we're doing what's good for kids and for our teachers by increasing the amount of instruction in the classrooms. And just to give you an example, our grades 3 through 5, by making that change, it's almost 100 more hours of instruction that our teachers will have with those students next school year, with not changing the length of the day. It's just reducing the amount of time switching classes and that downtime that students have.
Fewer study halls?
Well, there could be, obviously some, with an 8-period day, we might have some middle school students in 2 study halls, where now with a 7-period day, there'll be one study hall. So, again, elimination of study halls sometimes means increase in staff members, sometimes it doesn't. But, we didn't want to really look at that. Some districts, I came from a district where there were no study halls. My kids are in a district where they have study halls and they do utilize them effectively. So, to some students, they don't need them. Some students, they really rely on them. So I don't want to make that decision right now. That's something, a further discussion we can have with parents and teachers and students to see how they feel about study halls. But, right now, those changes as far as going from an 8 to a 7-period day in our middle school and high school, going self-contained on our Gateway, those are good things for our students and for our teachers. So we're looking forward to it. One other thing that we're going to do next year, which I'm very excited about, is in grades 6 through 12. We know a concern in Conneaut when you look at our report card is our high school graduation rate.
Right.
And that's something that
that's a weak point.
Right. And that's something that we really have to work on. So, being able to identify, in any school system, kids get lost along the way. They truly do, unfortunately. And if you look at, I always give an example. If you're an algebra teacher at the high school and you have 120 kids throughout the course of the day, it's hard to keep an eye on all 120 kids, how they're doing academically, not only in your class but other classes. And eventually, sometimes students just get lost in the shuffle. You lose them, and then it has an impact on your graduation rate. So what we're doing next year in grades 6 through 12, we're going to have a mentoring program where the students for the first 30 minutes of the day will be matched up with the teacher. So let's say if I am a high school teacher, now a math teacher, and I have 120 students, I may be assigned 15, 18 students next year. And those students are the only students that I keep track of. I keep track of their attendance, their behavior, their grades, if they're struggling in other classes. We can provide intervention for them, develop the relationships between the teachers and the students. And that way, every student 6 through 12 is accounted for because they're matched up with the teacher. And those students will follow that teacher throughout their whole high school career and through their whole middle school career. So as a 6th grade teacher, you will have those students in 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade. So you'll actually follow them through middle school. But it's a way of trying to develop relationships with our students, understanding their needs both academically and personally. And we're going to do that K through 5 being self-contained. They'll be matched up with a teacher all day, every day. So our goal is no student will be lost in the shuffle or fall through the cracks by the time they graduate. So we're excited about it, and I'm in the process of getting those items organized and providing some professional development opportunities for our teachers to understand the mentoring program as we go into next school year. So.
But was there something that the state was going to lift minimum requirements for teachers like music and phys ed and that sort of art? Is that?
Yeah, again, it was the 5-8 rule. It's about having more local control on what you want to provide. Again, it's a funding thing. Meaning.
But what they're saying is we're going to give you less money, but fire an art teacher if you want to.
If you want to, it's given more local, local control of the school districts. That if you need to make a cut and you feel that art isn't important at the elementary, then you can go ahead and do that. Obviously, being a former elementary teacher and principal and all the way through, there's programs that we'll never, look at getting rid of just because they're good for kids and kids need them. It helps them grow personally and academically and everything. So.
Well, all the music things in Ashtabula County, I mean, the Conneaut Arts Center, the Ashtabula Arts Center, and every month the Ashtabula Arts Center and the Conneaut Arts Center have art displays. They're looking for artists, and that'd be just an awful thing for if some talented kid never got started because they cut it out of schools.
Music and fine arts are just as important as any of our core subject areas. They really are, because certain students are going to fit into those and go with them. And if we don't provide those opportunities for those students, they may never know that. So we'll continue to provide those for our students. It's a part of our curriculum, or will remain in our curriculum just because I believe in them. So.
Okay, so you were supposed to be here last Monday, but Mother Nature messed everything up. So tell me, like, and this is not a criticism of anybody, but I just want to understand, like, I was, by the way, this is something else I want to mention, is I was going to Jefferson Junior High School to do a story about Chromebooks, which I kind of like to talk to you a little bit about. But I looked at the weather app, and it says it was -2 degrees. So I thought, oh my gosh, maybe not even have school today. And I checked, no school district canceled school. No. Like 2 days later, it's like 19 degrees. There's a little bit of snow out there. Every school district in the Cleveland area, from Cleveland to Conneaut, canceled school. So what is the criteria for that?
Yeah, it's always a difficult decision. You would think, I know the state going from days to hours for our students, that it would make it easier on us canceling school, but it doesn't. Obviously when you have the lives of children in your hand, riding school buses to school, you always have to be very cautious on a decision. I'm always under the that it's better to be safe than sorry. So if we're questionable, then odds, the chances of canceling are greater. But
do you get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and check the weather?
No, because it changes.
Yeah.
It really does. So usually about, if we can predict weather, seeing that something's coming, usually get up about 4:30 in the morning. We'll start talking as a group of county superintendents. All 7 of us start talking as early as 4:40, 4:45 in the morning, just seeing what it's doing in neighboring school districts. Because it's better to have 7 people looking at it than one person. I immediately get on the phone. I talk with Randy Luce from the street department, and he lets me know what's going on out, especially in the southern part of the district, to see how the roads are. So a lot of it may be fine in the city, but because of the winds, the drifts are so bad out in the country that they can't keep up with it. Well, that's a safety issue for those students.
Sure.
So it may be fine here, but bad out in the country. So we may cancel a day, and it looks fine in here, but it's not in the southern part. So, you know, snow plays a factor, obviously. When we look at temperature, you know, the rule of thumb that all superintendents usually use is whenever it's a -10 to a -14 degree wind chill. That's when you start looking. I know being in Trumbull County last year, the cutoff was a -10. They did some research through the National Weather Service, and it ended up being that -14 is the coldest before, if it's like -15, 16 with wind chill,
Yeah.
it's time to shut down. So when you get to that -10 to 14, you start, you know, thinking about it. Obviously, if it's a -2 wind chill, you know, we're
Piece
going
of
to,
cake.
yeah, it's a piece of cake. We're going to continue to go. But then again, you have to keep in track of the weather. You know, on that Monday, there was a winter weather warning out.
What Monday was brutal.
Yeah, you know, so the warning was posted, which is, you know, to us, that's a major concern when it's a warning. Obviously, if it's an advisory or a watch, you still have to keep an eye on it. But yeah, that one, and to me, if we can cancel the night before, knowing where we are, it's better for parents. They can make adjustments. I know as a district last year, they did utilize the 2-hour delay maybe once. I'm not a huge fan of the 2-hour delay because being a parent, a 2-hour delay puts a lot of difficulty on myself as a parent and how my kids are going to get to school 2 hours later. Especially when you have to go off to work, and so
wasn't a 2-hour delay turned into a date canceling for the day?
It could eventually. It could just be a 2-hour delay. You know, our 2-hour delays. If I know the snow is going to stop at about 7 o'clock and it's going to give us 2 more hours of plowing, then. But it's very difficult for our parents. It is, and I understand that. So, but right now we've used 6 calamity days so far this school year. So. We'll keep our fingers crossed the next couple of weeks are okay and we can get into to March. So.
Yes, that would be,
be
nice. I mentioned the Chromebooks in Jefferson. I thought I'd just kind of pass it on because I haven't done the video yet. But they got some money together for something. They wondered what to do with it in Jefferson. So they started this thing with Chromebooks, and every 7th grader at Jefferson gets a Chromebook, and the parents have to pay like $15 for a maintenance agreement.
Right.
And they'll carry those with them through 12th grade, and they take them home, and you know, and the next year is going to get Chromebooks too. So from now on in Jefferson, every student when he hits 7th grade is going to have this Chromebook that he can take with him. The software is up in the cloud, and so all their work, if they have to write something out, it's going to be like a Word type program, and that sort of thing. And the principle there, something interesting, is that they're going to have to update like science books next year, and the cost of updating the science books, so they can just buy the Chromebooks for that.
Right.
So I know, technologically wise and everything, you know, what do you think of that sort of a program?
Yeah, without doubt. I mean, if you go through a textbook replacement, it is very costly.
Eventually, they say they're going to get rid of textbooks.
Yeah, and eventually, a lot of these major textbook companies are now providing online textbooks. So as districts start to make that transformation into, you know, Chromebooks, iPads, things of that nature, they can download and still purchase from that company, but it'll be an online textbook. But yeah, without question, I always said, you know, one of the transportation and technology are one of the things that need more funding.
Yeah.
Because I truly believe every student should be able to be picked up at their home and transported to school, but unfortunately, because of cuts, you can't, and there's common bus stops and bus being eliminated for high school and so forth. And technology continues to increase, but it's hard unless grants are available or some other funding resource. You know, it's a costly investment, and it's a costly investment to maintain that too. So,
but isn't technology a little cheaper than it once was?
It is. You know, but where they get you, the actual equipment is getting cheaper and cheaper. But where they get you is on your maintenance agreements and your maintenance
Yeah.
contracts, that's where the costs have risen.
They also had to put wireless in all of the classrooms, and they had to put in extra electric outlets. All the kids are supposed to charge overnight, but sometimes they don't.
Yeah, even for our district, we can spend anywhere from $150,000 to $250,000 annually just on service contracts for the technology that we currently have in our buildings. And so, when you look at it at a broader scale, it does add up. The dollars do add up. So, but yeah, I've always preached that if we could have more money, I'd put it towards technology and transportation, because those are the two things that, obviously, because technology ties into academics, how you can use technology. But
They said Jefferson is really revolutionizing the way they teach, and that kids that were getting behind are not. Kids that are sick in their home, they can do the work,
and we do.
There's less goofing off.
Yeah, we have our digital academy at our high school that we have available. We're going to take a look at that next year to see how we can expand that and provide some more opportunities for our students, not only for a credit recovery program, but for other factors that may play in, whether it's credit flex and opportunities for students to take more advanced classes that we can't offer at the high school, but they can take online and so forth. So, because that's going to be available to those students as they go on to a career school, or they go on to technical school or college, they're going to see that. So, I'm seeing it with my son who's graduating and going off to college next year, that a lot of his courses are, a Chromebook and no paper pencil. Just bring that, and the communication is all done through that. So, it'll be interesting. Yep.
I can remember when my son, when we got him down to Kent to his dorm, and it was the hottest day of the year, 95 degrees. And we got everything in it. We looked out there, and this was late 1990, so everybody had desktops, and they had big monitors.
Yeah.
And everywhere you went, there was a sea of parents carrying monitors. Things have changed.
That's changed.
They told you at the time,
don't
get a laptop because somebody will steal them.
Yeah.
But I don't
but
think
now
they
have to take something mobile with them.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So again, it's something that we'll take a look at. Our technology director I talk to all the time, and we're always looking at new ways and how to provide better service for our students and so forth. But technology, and it's expensive, but it's something that our students definitely need as they transition not only through elementary school but middle school and high school.
So what we learned today is education is not stagnant. It's always changing.
Always changing. I think that's the great thing about it. Sometimes it's frustrating, but sometimes it's nice when you come to work every day and you don't know what your day is going to be like. Which
Well,
is
that is a good job.
Yeah, it is. And anytime, like I said, anytime you can take a break out of your day and go talk with kids and sit and talk with kids, they just have a way of making your day 10 times better. So, and that's what I do. Sometimes when I'm frustrated or overwhelmed, I'll get out into the building and talk to our students. It puts it into perspective on why we're in the job. But I did want to mention a couple quick things.
Okay, sure.
Our board meetings used to be on the third Wednesday of every month. We had an organizational meeting, and they're going to be on the third Thursday of every month now instead of Wednesdays. Our work session always begins at 5 o'clock, and our board meeting usually started at 6. Our board meeting is going to follow the work session.
So whatever time that is.
But it'll never start before 5:30. So it'll be the third Thursday of every month. Work session at 5. Board meeting usually at 5:30 starting.
So who's the new president?
New president is Suzanne Bernardini.
Okay.
Vice president is Joni Norton.
Okay.
So, and then we did have a Spark meeting a week or so ago. We have a couple teachers in our district. They are organizing, and we are going to have it's going to be called a 5K Saturday Night Fever run. It's going to be a walk and run. It's going to be April 18th, and all the proceeds will go towards the Spark project. And they're going to have a children competition where children can do a lap. They're going to have a 5K walk around our new multi-purpose track, and then they'll have a 5K run that'll be throughout the city, and they're going to work with the city officials and police and so forth. So that's April 18th, and it begins, I believe, at 5 o'clock in the evening for the little kids. More information will be coming out from Mark Wheeler, who's in charge of the Spark Committee and so forth. But I wanted to put that little plug in.
Definitely.
Yep.
Yeah, if you haven't gone down to there and run the track, it is really nice.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the springtime and seeing the snow gone, and we can see it. So
that was a definite plus for the community.
Without a doubt, it's nice seeing even people walk on it in the spring and summertime. So
and the stadium is much nicer.
Beautiful. Yep.
So, all right. Well, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you. Have a good day. Hopefully the weather cooperates over the next couple of weeks.